I'm Jamie, and welcome back to my channel, Jamie Sage Knits. Today I'll be sharing my 4th podcast episode. I haven't done a podcast in a few weeks, so I have some pretty good progress to share on several of my projects. I have a couple of finished items, I have a few works in progress, and I also have a few acquisitions, and I would love to get your advice or your perspective on choosing between a couple of projects for an upcoming new project that I'm going to start. I'm choosing between a couple of similar patterns, and I would love to get any takes on that to help me decide. And with that, let's dive right in to my finished objects, which I'm really excited about. The first one is what I'm wearing now. This is the Fat Timeless sweater by AIA Knit, or AIA Knit. And if you've been watching my podcast episodes, you know, unfortunately, soon after I started working on this sweater, the designer discontinued her website, so the pattern is no longer available. However, it's a pretty basic, kind of oversized cropped drop shoulder sweater. So I think you could find something similar if you enjoy this style. One pattern that I saw that I've mentioned before, I think is kind of similar in its fit and construction, is the Winnie sweater by Woozy by Celine, and I'm sure there's others out there, and I just chose this sweater originally because I liked the fit. I liked that it's knit on 6mm needles, so it worked up really quick, and it's literally all stockinette. All of the hems are just like rolled edges, and so it was a super easy, straightforward knit. It worked up pretty quickly, and I really enjoyed the process as well. I knit it in Drops Muscat, which is a mercerized cotton, in the color 20 Light Mint, held together with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk in the color Pistachio Ice Cream. I don't know how much value there is in talking about the details of this pattern since it's not available anymore, but just in terms of the construction, it is knit top down with drop shoulders, and like many others, I enjoy knitting things top down so that I can adjust the length and know where it's going to hit my body. With this one, I also was able to try on the sleeves, and it's kind of hard to show in the video, but when my arms are hanging down, the sleeves hit pretty perfectly. So I'm really happy with that. I didn't wind up blocking the sweater because of the fiber content. I'm like a little hesitant to block cotton sometimes because I think it might sag, and it doesn't have like fiber memory in the same way that wool does. Also, it's a very casual sweater. I feel like the stitches look pretty even, so I just didn't feel a need to block it. I'm really happy with it and the way it fits now. And also, you might notice I am not wearing anything under it. I'm wearing it against my skin, and I find it very comfortable. Even though I can't necessarily recommend the pattern since it's not available, I definitely can and would recommend this combination of fibers, the Drops Muscat and the Brushed Alpaca Silk. I think it creates a really beautiful, drapey, comfortable fabric, and it's quite cozy. I've really been enjoying wearing it around the house in the winter. I don't know if I would necessarily wear it out in the winter because it's not the most warm and cozy, and I live in New York, so we get some pretty cold days in the winter. I also think the color is more springtime vibes, and I did knit it kind of anticipating that I would wear it more in the spring. Also, that's why I made the neck like a more of a mock neck, not a full turtleneck. Obviously, you could adjust the pattern to your liking, and I knit it a little shorter than recommended because I don't want it to be too like overbearing when I wear it in the spring. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this pattern. I do really enjoy it, and I definitely would recommend, like I said, this yarn combination or just having kind of a basic oversized drop shoulder cozy sweater. It's a great one to include in the arsenal, and I definitely could see myself knitting another version of this in a more neutral color, or the Winnie sweater, which is a slightly different version, but it looks really nice and maybe a little more polished. It doesn't have like the rolled edges. It has more of like a structured funnel neck. It has like bell sleeves, whereas this one, they're just knit straight out, but because of that, they like drape around the forearm. But yeah, I love having a basic like this in my wardrobe. And the next item is also, in a sense, a basic, like a staple. This is the Caramel sweater by Petite Knit. This is a top-down raglan turtleneck with 2x2 ribbing details at the neck, the sleeve cuffs, and the hem. And this is knit with a DK weight yarn or a fingering and lace weight held together. So personally, I knit this with Drops Flora in the color red, which is a fingering weight yarn, 65% wool and 35% alpaca. And I held that together with Drops Kid Silk, also in the color red. And both of those have 210 meters per ball. and I love this color combination. I think it's so beautiful. This was knit on 4mm needles, so it didn't knit up quite as quickly as a Fat Timeless sweater, but it still was like relatively straightforward. And also I knit a size large personally, so it's designed with 4 to 6 inches of positive ease, but I wanted it even a little bit looser than that. And so the sizing the sizing ranges from 37.5 to 53 inches, so it's not the widest range. And I decided to knit the size large, like I said, just to have it a little bit more oversized, a little bit more ease. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I haven't had a chance to block it yet because I literally just finished it. I wanted to wear it on Christmas because I think it's such a beautiful, like, festive color. And I finished it at like 11 p.m. on the 24th, and then I was able to wear it, but I haven't blocked it yet. So at the time I post this video, it probably will be on my blocking mats, and I think that will be really nice for the ribbing to relax out and for just the whole thing to relax out. I had mentioned this a while back in a podcast. I hadn't been working on it too much until more recently, and I think I had mentioned in the past I started working on it last winter, and I finished the entire body. I had the sleeve stitches on hold, and I realized that I only had like one more ball of wool and less than a ball of mohair remaining, and I was like, I don't think that's going to be enough for the sleeves. So I paused the project, and then I ordered more of the yarn this fall when I placed a big online order for some other wool for other projects. And I did wind up needing basically one extra ball for each of the strands. But I looked back at the pattern, and even like a year ago when I ordered the yarn for this, I wasn't as experienced with garment knitting and with substituting yarns. So looking back, I'm pretty sure the error was on my side. I think the pattern recommends the correct amount of yarn, and then I ordered based on the number of grams rather than calculating how many meters are there per ball. So even if I have a 50-gram ball and the designer uses a 50-gram ball, there's not going to be the same number of meters or yards necessarily between those two 50-gram balls. And obviously mine didn't have enough meters per 50 grams. So if I had calculated it correctly, I would have gotten the correct amount of yarn. So that was an issue on my end. And I know moving forward, if I ever make this again, that I can either just get the correct number of balls, or I could, because it was kind of in between. It was like, I think I had ordered 5. It wound up that I should have ordered 6. I wound up using like 5.5. So I could either order 6 or I could order 5, but just keep in mind I'll probably need to make the body a little more cropped or like stretch it out a little more during blocking or something like that. But anyway, we don't need all the details. I just wanted to say the issue with yarn ordering it was my bad, but I was able to use helical knitting to blend the dye lots. So that's in both sleeves, and I don't think you can see any issue. So I'm pretty proud of that, and in a sense I'm glad that the situation motivated me to incorporate helical knitting, because if I use like hand-dyed yarn in the future, it'll be nice to have that skill. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this project. It's super cozy. I don't find Drops Kid Silk too itchy. I know a lot of other people do, but I wore this yesterday, for instance, with like a half sleeve kind of like turtleneck thing under it, and I found that totally fine. I will say in my experience, I have some sweaters with Drops Kid Silk that are cabled, and I find that a little more irritating, I think, because there's like more texture inside, but since this one is like mostly plain, it's not too bad. And the sleeve cuff ribbing is like quite scrunched, so I'm excited for that to relax out with blocking. One other thing I'll mention, I don't know if I've ever done a tubular 2x2 bind off before, and I did it for the sleeve cuffs here because that's I think what the pattern instructed, and I found it very stiff. Like there wasn't any stretch to it. So after I did that for the first sleeve, for the second sleeve did just like a 1x1 Italian bind off, which doesn't look quite as nice, but I mean, it looks fine, and I liked that a lot more. It has a lot more stretch to it, so I think this will like block out more nicely. And then I went back and picked out the other bind off and redid it. And I actually can't tell like which one I redid, so proud of myself for that one. I don't think I like twisted any stitches when picking them up or things like that, so that was a good experience for me, and I'm glad that I went back and redid it because now both of them are nice and stretchy. I'm excited to see how this looks after blocking. Maybe I'll wear it for my next video. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about this one. I just really loved it. Again, I would make this pattern again for sure. I would recommend it. It's very straightforward. The raglan is just one stitch, so it's very simple and classic, and I feel like it's a staple, right? Just like a simple, kind of oversized, cozy turtleneck, and I could definitely see myself making this in some more colors. And then next, I did want to talk about my Musselburgh hat. I can't remember if I'd finished this for my previous podcast or maybe for a different video, so apologies if it's a repeat, but I actually had finished a second one of these, which was what I wanted to talk about today, but I made it as a gift for my fiance, and he has it with him out. But basically, I just wanted to mention that I made a color blocked version of the Musselburgh, and I really enjoyed that. And moving forward, I feel very excited to make another color blocked version for myself. I just love that it's like reversible. So if you wear it one way, it's like one color, and if you wear it the other way, it's the other color. I'll insert some photos that I took of that later. And overall, I just love the Musselburgh hat pattern. It's by Isolde Teague. I can understand why people talk about it so much. The sizes go from baby to adult XL. And what's really cool is that it's swatchless. So you just start knitting the increases, and then once you have a few done, you measure and see what your gauge is, and then adjust the instructions from there. So I really enjoy that. This one I did fingering weight. The second one I did was DK weight. And for that, I used on like one side of it a hand-dyed yarn from the Woolen Wench, which, like I mentioned, is DK, but it's actually a sock yarn. That's, I think, 90% superwash merino and 10% silk. It's an unnamed dye lot. And then I, on the other side, did like a solid color that kind of coordinated. That was from Circular Yarns from their Sweet line, which is 100% Brazilian merino, DK weight, and that's in the color Archipelago. So I think that's really fun that like one side of it's more variegated, one side is plain, so you can wear it either way, or you can wear it with like the brim of the opposite one showing. So I think it just makes it really like personalized and fun, and you can wear it lots of different ways. So it's almost like 4 hats in one. So I would definitely, like I said, recommend that. And in particular, I did love doing the fingering weight version because it uses pretty much like 100 grams of fingering weight yarn, whereas for the DK weight, it would need a bit more than that. So it's not like a single skein project for DK. I'm sure there's other hats that could be a single skein DK project as well. But yeah, those are all of my finished objects that I wanted to mention. I do have a couple of WIPs that I'm pretty excited about. The first one is a test knit that I've been working on that I've mentioned before. So this is the Arendal Pullover by Ellis Knitwear, and this is a all over colorwork sweater that is knit with a DK weight yarn on 4mm needles, and the recommended yarn is Drops Lima, which is the DK weight version of Flora. So it's 65% wool, 35% alpaca, and I decided to use the recommended yarn in the colors navy and white. And my current progress is a little bit chaotic, if you can see. I have been knitting a lot the past couple of weeks around the holidays. My schedule has been a little bit less busy, and I even traveled a bit to see family. And so while I was traveling, I had my mother-in-law sew the steek bridges for me. Let me take a step back. The construction of this sweater is bottom up. So the entire body, the colorwork is knit in the round from the bottom up. And the sleeves are added later with steek bridges. And this is the first time I've done a colorwork collar that was also knit in the round. Like, it's hard to explain. Before the collar was here, the entire body was knit up in the round, so there's no flat neckline shaping, which is nice with color work, just all in the round. And then there are steek bridges for the armholes and for the collar. So I had my mother-in-law help me by machine sewing the steek bridges, and then I went in and cut them, added on this little ribbed collar, and then also added on both sleeves. And the reason that each sleeve is half done is because I got to the point where my 16-inch kind of short needles were, too big for the circumference, and I didn't have DPNs. I didn't really feel like doing magic loop, and I had other projects to work on, so I just decided to place these on hold, and I will pick them up, later today, now that I've finished my caramel sweater. So I am absolutely loving this pattern. Let me just let's have a moment for the sweater. It's so beautiful. I feel like it's so classic, but also timeless in a way. The color work motif is so fun, and I'm really happy with the colors that I chose. It's a beautiful contrast, and I just think it's so wintry and fun. I can't wait to finish it and wear it, and I think it will probably relax out a fair amount with blocking, although I'm pretty pleased with my color work tension already. But yeah, it's been such a delight to test knit this. The pattern has been super easy to understand. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. The test knit is due, I think, January 19th. So I expect the pattern might be available sometime in February, and the sizing will be quite inclusive. I know there were 2 PDFs that went out for test knitting. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe the designer finished the grading at different times, but I am using the straight size sizing, which ranges from 41.5 to 57.5 inches of bust circumference, and it recommends 10 to 12 inches of positive ease. And I know there's another kind of test knit group that's doing further plus sizes, so sizes that have a finished bust circumference above 57.5 inches. And so I think the finished, my mohair on my lip. I think the finished pattern with all the sizes will be quite size inclusive and just quite beautiful overall. So I would definitely recommend checking it out, and I'll update when I know more about the release date. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. And I will say steeking is not as scary or bad as I expected. I put it off for a long time. And then for my BB sweater, I actually bought the pattern without realizing that it required steeking. And so that was a great thing that forced me into it. And then for this pattern, it was 10 times easier. You just have to trust that the steek bridges will hold, which as long as you reinforce them and then pick up the stitches, they do. So super happy with this. Very excited to finish up the sleeves and then block this guy. So yes, absolutely love this. Would absolutely recommend. And then my other work in progress is a little bit of a departure from this because it is quite simple, but in a good way. So this is the Cinema Sweater, but it's a little hard to wrangle. The Cinema Sweater by Kuta Vakika, or Veronica Lindberg, who I have to say is one of my favorite designers as well as knitting personalities in a sense. I love her videos and her social media, and I just think she seems like such a delightful person. So I love knitting her patterns because they're beautiful, and I love supporting her business. But taking a step back, the Cinema Sweater is a top-down raglan. It is pretty simple. It's a 2-stitch raglan knit with 1x1 collar, hem, sleeve, cuff details, and it's knit on 4.5 millimeter needles with maybe a heavy DK, light worsted weight, or personally I'm using a sport weight and a heavy fingering weight, or maybe light fingering weight or heavy lace weight held together. So the yarns that I'm using are Drops Alpaca, which is 100% alpaca. It's considered a sport weight with 167 meters per 50 grams. And I'm holding that together with Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk, which I really love. Same yarn from this sweater. And that I would consider a heavy lace weight, light fingering weight. It's definitely thicker than a silk mohair. And that one has 140 meters per 25 grams. The sweater is designed to be pretty oversized with 12 to 16 inches of positive ease. The finished bust measurements range from 45 to 77 inches. I decided to make a size small so that mine is kind of in the middle of that positive ease recommendation. And I am zooming along on this guy. It is mostly just plain stockinette. I finished the collar, the yoke. I then paused the body once I finished the balls of yarn there and started knitting on the sleeves. And the reason I tend to do that is so I can make sure the sleeves are long enough, and then I can go back and kind of knit the body with the rest of the yarn that I have. And I'll do this when I am not too attached to a particular body length. Like with the sweater, it could be cropped, could be kind of regular length, could even be a bit longer and oversized. So because I'm flexible there, I'm just going to make sure the sleeves are a nice length and then use up as much of the yarn as possible. And I finished the first sleeve. I think because I had just finished the caramel sweater, I accidentally did 2x2 ribbing for the cuff, but since it's black, you can like barely see it. So I was like, I don't want to rip it out. I'll just do the other cuff also 2x2, and then I'll have the collar and the bottom of the body in 1x1. I think it's fine. And yeah, you can see I left my little decrease markers on the sleeve just because this one is by like length. So I wanted to make sure the other one matches. Often patterns like the caramel sweater, for instance, will, and also the Arendal Pullover, will instruct sleeve decreases by like the number of rows. Since this one was by the number of centimeters, I want to make sure it matches approximately. And now I'm started on the second sleeve and making way on that. So I'm going to finish that sleeve up and then I'll finish the body. And I do find it really nice to have kind of like a mindless, pretty chill stockinette project going. I can work on it like on the subway or hanging out with friends, watching TV. Although to be fair, I work on all my projects while watching TV, even if they're complicated. But yeah, like hanging out with friends, like doing things where I can just look at someone and just have my hands going, working on my knitting. I love stockinette, not even having to look at it. And since this one is black yarn, it's like, don't even need to look at it. It is hard to see what's going on, so why even look, you know? But yeah, it's going pretty smoothly working with the black yarn, and this is a really nice soft combination. One other note I have is, like this sweater, based on the fiber content, I don't think I'll be blocking this one because alpaca, I've heard, can be like really prone to sagging. And I think it might sag over time even without blocking, which is okay because it's an oversized kind of drapey sweater, but I feel like there's no need to block it and risk it sagging already. And I think the fit will be oversized in the first place. I don't really need to block it to make the fit appropriate, and because it's black, you can't really see the stitch definition, so I don't really mind like blocking it to make the stitches look more even. So I don't know, let me know if you think that is a bad idea, but I guess I can always see how it fits. But that is one other thought I had about this project. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm really loving it. Super fun. I think it'll be really cozy and just a nice like wardrobe staple to have a black plain sweater. And that is it in terms of my WIPs. But as you noticed, I finished up a couple of sweaters. I'm getting close to finishing a couple of sweaters. My mind is already thinking to my next projects. And I had mentioned in my winter knitting plans that probably the next thing I'll cast on will be the Wood Anemone Pullover by Sari Nordlund. And I still really love that pattern. And I have the yarn for it, which is Ops Flora in light gray and Kid Silk in gray. But for the holidays, I got, as one of my acquisitions, a gift, which is the book Softly Timeless Knits by Sari Nordlund. She's one of my favorite designers as well. And open right to it. Obviously, I've been looking at this pattern a lot. This is the Calliope Pullover, which is very similar in some ways to the Wood Anemone Pullover. It has a lace yoke. It has the same or very similar gauge. It also calls for like a fingering weight and a lace weight held together, or just a DK weight yarn. And so this is the sweater I'm talking about. I am now feeling conflicted about if I should knit this one or the Wood Anemone Pullover. Obviously, it's not the end of the world. Either way, I can knit both eventually, but I'm just trying to decide which I should use this yarn for. And I'll put a picture of the Wood Anemone as well. I feel like one of the main differences is that this one like opens up towards the bottom, whereas the Wood Anemone comes to points. So that's like an aesthetic difference. And also, I think this style has a little bit more positive ease, but I should have enough yarn to make either. I'm kind of leaning towards doing this one in the gray because the Wood Anemone Pullover is a vibrant color, and I had already been kind of itching to do that one with like a bright color as well. So I don't know, let me know what you think. I haven't bought that pattern, so I also like the idea of doing a pattern for free out of the book that I got, and making the book more worthwhile. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. And I'm very excited in general to knit from this book. I've also seen some people do videos that are like reviews of, or like overviews of knitting books, so let me know if you would like a video like that. But it has a ton of different patterns of like pullovers, cardigans, tops, hats, socks, scarves, or shawls. Like so many beautiful, amazing patterns in here, and they're all like neutrals, which I really like the aesthetic of. So we'll see what comes from that. And I also wanted to mention a couple other acquisitions. One of them I got from a friend when she was doing a little bookshelf clear out. This is 200 Fair Isle Motifs, a knitter's directory. And this one is super cool. It has like this table of contents where it has a little bit of explanation and background on Fair Isle knitting and yarn dominance and all these things. And then it had, oh my gosh, there's actually a lot here. Yarn harmonies, project planning, and then the motif directory, which is probably my favorite part. So it has all the motifs in this like table of contents, which I love because then you can see, like, compare them all and see which ones you like, and then just go straight to that page. So let's skip ahead a little bit. These are like the more complex ones. So really love this book. Got it for free. Super happy with that. And then I also got as a gift 400 knitting stitches from Pottercraft, and this one is also amazing. It has, I think, like 8 different categories of stitches, and probably the biggest ones are lacy stitches, cables, and slipped stitches, which is quite interesting. So they have some like really cool stuff in here. That's like a slipped stitch one. They have some really cool cables. They have some beautiful lacy stitches. So yeah, I'm really excited to dive into both of those books in order to support upcoming potential like self-drafted patterns or designs. Thus far, I haven't delved too deeply into that world, so I think that'd be really cool, and it's nice to have those kind of like resources to support that and to brainstorm. So that is everything I have in store. I would love to hear what you're working on at the moment. Please like or subscribe if you enjoy this video. Comment down below. Let me know what your favorite WIP is at the moment. And I would love to hear your thoughts on what pattern I should do with these, the Wood Anemone pullover or the Calliope pullover. So hope you've enjoyed this video today. I'll be back soon, possibly with my 2024 recap. So whether it's that video or another, I hope you'll come back for my next video, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good day.